Good morning. Call to order the Board of Franklin County Commissioners for Wednesday, January 24th. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Waymeyer,
Present.
Commissioner Oglesby,
Present.
Commissioner Dunn, Chair Renaud.
Present. This time, would everyone please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Let us pray. Almighty God, we know that when you created all things, you said that it was good. And then you put us in charge of all of creation. So we come here this morning with this group of men and women, knowing that they have the burden of caring for creation and for all the people of Franklin County. And so we pray, God, that you would be here during this time, that they would feel your presence, that they would be able to make good and just decisions for all citizens of this county, for the least up into the most, that all men and women would be created in their eyes in such a way that they would realize the importance of their work and would be led by your graciousness. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Thank you.
Okay, correspondence and organizational business. Eric, I understand our item number 1, Angie won't be here. You want to go to the next item then, James?
Good morning, Commissioners. Wanted to take this opportunity to give you guys an update on SCDC since we're crossing over into 2018. Just wanted to kind of give you a overall review of what was accomplished in 2017, and you know, take a look at everything that we were able to take care of this year. So. If I can get this to go. Sorry about that.
Technology.
Yeah. Okay. So was that you or me, Derek? Okay. So to start off this time, last year back in January, the FCDC board approved a 4-year marketing plan for Proximity Park. As you are all aware, the county and the city have looked to FCDC to be the primary marketing arm for Proximity Park in trying to attract business to the development south of town there. We contracted with Bartlett and West to put this plan together. We did a lot of due diligence into the target markets that we were looking at, trying to figure out what was going to give us our best return on investment when it came to spending marketing dollars and setting ourselves up for successes with that. We were very strategic in what we picked out as far as the foundational items that were going to be needed. You know, the marketing collateral, the website, the tools that we were going to use to sell our story, but then also the events that we were going to participate in. You know, we wanted to make sure that we were going to get the best bang for our buck on the events. So when we chose which events to participate in, when they were, and where they were all chosen for a very specific reason. And so that was a main piece of you know, what we put a lot of effort into. And what the board approved to start executing at the beginning of 2017. part of that process was actually branding Proximity Park. At this time in 2017, the industrial park did not have an official name. We knew that we needed to brand it in a way that was going to be able to really successfully express what we were trying to sell as far as a community and as far as that property out there. Branding it as Proximity Park was approximately a 3 to 4 month process. We went through we went through a procedure or a process where we got input from both the commissions, the county and the City of Ottawa Commission, from the steering committee that had been working on the Proximity Park Master Plan process. We also got input from the FCDC board, and then we also got input from basically a focus group of just residents from kind of outside of all those circles, people that hadn't been part of the process yet. To get their input on what was important to sell for this community as well. In the end, we ended up with Proximity Park, which is what the Joint Commissions chose for the name, and that's what we have moved forward with since then. So once that was done, we were able to start the complete redesign of our FCDC website. The website that we had, which was established when FCDC moved off into its own organization back in the 2012 timeframe, it was outdated. It wasn't very mobile friendly at that point because, really at that point, the advent of smartphones hadn't completely taken off yet to be the primary source of technology people would use to look up information. And there was also a lot of data on there that needed to be updated as well too, and also being able to provide additional data that wasn't on the website. We went through a 6-month process redesigning the website. We did a lot of research into what is it that site selectors specifically are looking for when they're going to economic development organizations' websites. What kind of information are they trying to pull? We were able to create and construct our website to cater to that information. So if you've gone to the website recently, you see it's cleaner, it's mobile friendly. There's also a microsite specifically for Proximity Park within the website to kind of highlight that asset within the community. But then there's also data available on there that wasn't available previously. We've obviously got the information on there about Proximity Park. Our labor shed study that was done in 2015 is available for download. There's also some comparisons on how we compare as far as the timeline and the price when it comes to developing, going through the development process, with as far as getting your permits and what's it going to cost to pull a permit and everything like that. So there's a lot of great useful information on that website now catered to the people that we're trying to sell to. So with our marketing efforts, a big piece of the marketing plan is actually getting in the room with decision makers from the different target markets that we're targeting. If you remember, our main focus is going to be on the logistics and supply chain industry, distribution centers, warehouses, things of that nature, and also manufacturing and industrial. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't like to see another a project out there, a data center, a research facility, something along those lines. And we would never not necessarily say no to that either if it were to come down the pipeline. But realistically speaking, we're really set up to handle the supply chain target market and the industrial and manufacturing market. So that's where we're spending on our dollars in trying to market to. Through this process, we've gone to a number of events that has those people in the room. We're talking about the Transload Distribution Association in North America, their annual conference. We're talking about site selector conferences. We're talking about the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. We're talking about site selector events with our regional partners up in the Kansas City area, events with the Kansas City Area Development Council, KC Smartport, and the Kansas Department of Commerce. Through that, we were able to get about approximately 45 leads that represent 16 states and 4 countries. And so we started off with a limited number of events in 2017 because a lot of our focus was into building those foundational pieces that we needed to help sell our story. And so you're going to see an increase in those marketing efforts and being involved in those type of events in 2018 and 2019 and 2020. This year we did have one business attraction site visit on a project lead that we were working at. We got a lot of good feedback from it, and it's just a touch of things that are going to come. It was a good visit for us, for staff, to go through that process, and we got some good feedback on things that we can improve on as well too. We also did have a business attraction project success. You all are very aware of the Holiday Inn project that was going on in 2017. That project has officially broken ground. If you haven't noticed, on the south end of town there, dirt work has started, demolition of old buildings has taken place, and you should start to see some actual construction happening soon here. But that project alone is approximately $9 million in capital investment just from the hotel itself, and approximately 20 new direct jobs just from the hotel. That doesn't take into account the indirect jobs, the construction jobs, the people that will be working on building it when it's here, the other indirect jobs that may come from it if, all of a sudden Pizza Hut triples their business and they need to hire more employees. That's an example of that. You're also going to see, I believe, some additional development in and around that corner as well too. We actually have another project that we're working on that we're trying to get across the finish line as well too. That it's not directly part of the hotel package. I mean, it's not something that the hotel developer brought along with it, but it is being made possible because of that hotel project that's happening on that corner there. We also had a business retention and expansion project success within the community this last year. ATC Truck Covers, they acquired 2 of their competitors from out of state, and that moves some more production here to the Ottawa plant that we have in the Northern Industrial Park there, and that equaled 20 net new jobs in their facility here within the community. We also constructed a formal business retention and expansion strategy. This was something that I don't want to say wasn't a focus in the past, but we did not have a formal strategy in place as far as the number of times we're trying to go out and visit our existing industries. What kind of data are we collecting from them? Are we able to monitor that data and analyze it year over year over year to see if there's any trends happening in their needs, their challenges, their opportunities? We've put together a packet now of information that we're going to collect. We set standards on how often we want to go out and visit it with these businesses, and that's going to be extremely important to help our current existing industry make sure that they're successful in the community as well. And then we also constructed the Work Franklin County program. I'm sure you guys are aware that this is our local workforce development initiative. This was a 13-month process that took place that culminated really in October when it was unofficially unveiled at our annual banquet. This is going to be extremely important not only to our existing businesses within the community, but it's also going to be a very important tool when it comes to business attraction for Proximity Park. We know we have workforce challenges here within the community. It's nothing's exclusive to Franklin County. It's the same challenges that communities are facing across the state and across the nation. But instead of sitting on our hands and trying to act like it's not a problem, we're trying to meet it head on and doing some things that we feel can positively affect some of those challenges that we're having. With that, we've secured approximately $38,000 in private investment to fund that program for the first 3 years. After that 3-year window, we are anticipating and planning on just absorbing that into the FCDC budget, but we knew that we were going to need to get some capital to get the program off the ground, and we knew that we needed to get it from the private industries. We couldn't necessarily look at our public partners to create that funding, but I think that just goes to show you how important of an issue it is. Really, in less than 8 weeks' time, to be able to secure $38,000 from the private industry just tells you how important these efforts are and how much they want to be a part of it. So just taking a quick look ahead to the 2018 priorities, these really are just a continuation of the 2017 priorities that came out of our board retreat at the beginning of 2017. Priority number one, obviously, is Market Proximity Park. That's nothing new. We've laid a good foundation in 2017, and like I mentioned, you're going to see some increased efforts in 2018 as far as getting in the room with these people, hopefully getting them to our community to check out the assets that we have and what we have to offer here. And we're really looking forward to what 2018 is going to bring as far as that. We're also going to implement the Work Franklin County program. The last couple months of 2017 was focused specifically on the fundraising for it, and now we're in the implementation phase of it. So you're going to start seeing the different spokes of the plan start to take shape and start to take root within our community, and our businesses being able to utilize those. And then thirdly, we're going to implement that business retention and expansion strategy. Like I said, we spent a good portion of 2017 creating that. Now it's time to put it into place and start to implement it and execute it. In addition to that, I made a little note there about member retention and expansion. That's also going to be a piece of it. I don't ever want to say that member retention and expansion wasn't a focus of what we were doing, but you are going to see some new things happening this year specifically for SCDC members to try and promote member engagement a little bit more, to keep the members that we currently have, but then also expand that membership base as well too. So, any questions?
Anybody?
When you go to these trade shows, what are companies or corporations, what are they looking for? Are they looking for big incentives to come to your area?
You know, it varies from project to project. I can tell you that recently the number one concern is workforce. And so the trend lately has been they will look at communities that can handle their workforce needs first, and then they try to make everything else happen. A couple things, it used to be a couple of years ago, one, that the property was a big piece of it, that, they wanted the piece of property that worked best for them, and then they would just make everything else work around it. They figured that if they brought 500 jobs to a community, people would come to the community because of the jobs. That's not necessarily the case anymore. And also incentives used to be a big part of it. If it wasn't, top of the list, it was second on the list as far as what was being provided, but in all honesty, you're even seeing that fall a little bit farther down the chain a little bit. Just a recent example, there was a project that was just announced within about the last week and a half. It is a $1.5 billion Toyota Mazda manufacturing facility. It just ended up down in Alabama. And they actually said that the Alabama site offered less in incentives than two other communities that were in the running for it. So two communities that offered considerably more in incentives didn't end up landing the project. And there's going to be multiple reasons for that. One, workforce was key. Two, the site, is the infrastructure there ready to go and everything like that. Not to say incentives aren't important, and not to say they're not asked about, because they are a key piece to the process, but they don't hold quite as much weight as they used to even 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. I have a question on the other side of the coin. Are the decision to accept an applicant, are we looking at the criteria would be, for example, if I wanted 40 acres, but I'm only going to put 10 employees on 40 acres, is that we want somebody to know it's going to have 500 employees, or is it the salary of the jobs, or is it the revenue generated by the business? I mean, what are you seeing on our side that's going to be important to us?
Well, ultimately, that's going to be up to the commission to decide. When I, get the leads in through my office, sometimes we have quite a bit of information as far as what they're looking for, the employee account, what wages are going to be, you know, a lot of detail as far as that goes. And a lot of times we have very little detail. Obviously, we want to make sure that it's going to be a right fit, you know, if you know, from a community standpoint as far as wages and everything goes. But then also that coincides to, you know, where it's going to end up locating in the community as well, too. I think, you know, it's been spoken that, you know, we're going to have Proximity Park. We're kind of looking at larger projects for those that, you know, if we get somebody that maybe wants 15 acres, are we going to carve 15 acres out of Proximity Park? Ultimately, that'll be up for the commissions to decide, but in those type of situations, you may see that there might be additional tracts of land that that might be better suited for it. So specifically in answer to your conversation, very rarely are things ruled out right off the bat. Typically, the process that we go through when something comes in and I get a lead is there's a, you know, depending on the information that's needed, there's a small group of people that I send the information to and start the conversation. Derek's included in that. Richard is included in that. Wendy's included in that. If, you know, there's utility information that's needed, you know, maybe Dennis at that point. But if there's anything, you know, along the lines of, is there a decision that needs to be made as far as do we pursue this or not, I get that information out to those individuals and then, you know, kind of ask for their input on, is this something that's worth pursuing? Is it not worth pursuing? I mean, I don't ever want to say that, you know, there's going to be things that we aren't going to pursue, but, you know, there may be those instances where they are. And so ultimately then it's the feedback that I get from both the organizations on whether or not, you know, we want to put some effort into it. And some of it depends on, too, the amount of effort that needs to be put into it. You know, if it's something that we can, you know, submit something in a relatively short amount of time with relative ease, you know, there's no harm in keeping that option open, because we can always pull out of the process at any point if we feel like it's not, if a certain project is not going to be a good addition to the community.
James, the number of leads that you've had for Proximity Park, are a lot of them looking for a product that's a little closer? I mean, site-ready, shovel-ready type of infrastructure in place sites, instead of kind of more of it's kind of in a visionary place right now. We're not quite there. Is that
Right.
is that kind of the holdback at this juncture?
To a certain extent, yes. Almost all the leads that come down, if they are looking for a site where they're going to build their own building, usually it starts with they want certified sites. They want something that they know that they can come in, the infrastructure's in place, that they can start the process within a fairly short amount of time. Now, we also sometimes can get some additional information depending on where the lead comes from. If it comes from, say, one of our regional partners like KCADC, for example, you know, they can provide us with information to say they really want to see certified sites, but if you have a site that is in process, if you have a site where the design is done, maybe you're in the process of putting in the infrastructure, go ahead and submit those, because, you know, they know on their end that that's something that could be a possibility as well, too, because as much as they want certified sites where they can come in and start a project as quick as possible, there's also a certain amount of time that's always going to be associated with, you know, going through the process before they can actually get out there and start working. You know, we're getting closer to a point now where, depending on the project, there could be work going on simultaneously. If they can get access to the site and start their construction while, you know, the road's being put in, we try to keep those options open as well, too. So we always try to make sure that that's a possibility. But yes, there are some instances where, you know, it is black and white. If you are not a shovel-ready site, they're not going to consider you.
It's just we're getting closer to the finish line, and it becomes more attractive then.
Yes, yes. It definitely, the closer we get, opens up the more possibility of projects that we're going to be able to submit for.
How about Edgerton's, that area? How many sites are still available up there? What kind of?
From my understanding, most of all the ground that North Point owned in the first phase has been built out with the buildings that you see up there. Now, I don't think they're all completely full yet. I don't know exactly what's available up there.
Those are spec buildings.
Right. I do know that recently, within the last couple weeks, that the Edgerton City Council approved kind of phase 2. There's another 575 acres, I believe, on the south side of the interstate that's going to eventually start getting developed out as well, too. I don't know if they're going to if they're going to fill those out with spec buildings as well, like they did on the north side, or if they're going to keep that more as shovel-ready ground for those projects that, have a little bit more detailed, they can't quite fit into a spec building type situation. So really, I mean, when you look at what we're competing against, that's probably going to be a little bit closer of what's going to be our direct competition, because at this point, I don't feel like there's been any discussion or conversation about, once that land is ready out there, about the governing bodies looking into a spec type building. Obviously, if a developer wants to come down and put up a spec building, that would be a different conversation at that point. But at this point, we're just, the main priority is getting that ground shovel ready.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Derek, anything else under organizational business correspondence? I don't know if this is the time or not, but former County Commissioner Harold Fuller passed away, and I think there's a card in the office for us guys to sign sometime, and appropriate will be taken care of and recognize him to the funeral home or to the family. I think his services are Friday, if I remember right. Okay, the next item, public comment. We have one, Don Stottlemyre. Would you like to come up and state your name and address, please? I'm assuming I don't need to read you the spiel about your.
This looks a little familiar to the one I gave you before it is, but it is different.
Thank you, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. I know I come for you a couple of weeks ago and told you about we starting our small business and e-commerce marketing assistance kickoff, which was going to be in Mound City, which we haven't had that yet. But this is a new one just come out off. We just got it set up and ready to go for here in Franklin County. It will be here, and we got Franklin County Farm Bureau to host it for us, and we are going to have it right here in the Commissioner's Room on February the 12th, 9 a.m. And this is project is all put together by Project 17, USDA, Rural Development, Kansas State University, and the Lake Region RC&D. And also, it doesn't have it listed here, but CCAN RC&D too. You'll see their emblem in place of ours when we have meetings down in their area of the state down there. And what we'll do is, with these meetings is we'd like to increase the sales for people. We'd like to find new outlets for products, and we like business development tips to learn more technical assistance, and we also want to offer free commercial kitchen use at the K-State University site in Olathe. And just bringing this before you today, so you guys want to invite you to come to it. This is something, we are sponsored by one of the counties. It's Franklin County that sponsors us, and this has been like a 2-year ordeal for me to put this all together and work with everybody, and I'm glad somebody a lot higher up than me is taking the bull by the horn now and promoting this. Heather Morgan is our project manager on this with Project 17, and like I said, we hope for a lot of good things out of this. I know I got a phone call from Mr. Ron Brown, which is over CCAN the other day. He's also president of our Southwest State RC&Ds, and it sounds like possibly they want him and I to go to Texas to give a presentation at the state conference in Texas on our projects. It's something that they'd be interested in down there. So if you have any questions, that's all I had. Just want to make sure you guys are invited to come, and hopefully this is a good deal for us.
How long do you expect this to last?
Year and a half.
No, I meant the actual meeting on that day.
Oh, that? Well, she left it open. I can tell you better after I go to the one in Mount City. I
Okay.
think they're leaving that open. We only had the room till noon.
Okay,
So is what I have reserved for anyhow.
Yeah.
But it all depends on if there's a big crowd and a lot of questions. We don't want to,
Sure.
cut anybody off short. And there'll be several people here from USDA and K-State University Extension Council and the Certified Kitchen up there they run. There'll be several people from here to try and answer all and any questions that they can.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, following that, a consent agenda. Consider and approve the Franklin County Commission meeting minutes for January 17th. There are no claim vouchers, but we need to consider and approve the tax change orders and the amount of a negative $2,641.73. I have a motion for the consent agenda.
So move.
Second?
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
Commissioner Oglesby,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Chair Renaud.
Yes. Okay, our first item of business, consider for approval adopting a worksite lactation policy. And I understand Derek and Aaron's here, and
Erin has lost her voice this morning.
blessings never cease. I'm sorry. You're very glad about that. I'm sure you're going to get better.
I wanted to get this in front of all of you for your review. My intention is not to ask you to take any action on it today. This is something that would ultimately go in our personnel manual, and we would need a resolution in order to amend that. And so, more than anything, wanted you to have an opportunity to review it. If you have any questions, Erin can try to answer them today. If not, this will be back in front of you within a week or two, and she will be here then to answer questions.
Well, I read through the documents that you sent out, and you'd listed all the places they were going to use at every work site. And that looked very comprehensive to me, that obviously it's been thought out and how we're going to accommodate our ladies. And so, I was impressed with that part of the information that you sent. So hopefully that process is coming along real well. All right, so we'll put that on the agenda then later, and we'll have the resolution to do that. And thank you very much for that, Jill. Hope your voice comes back soon. Okay, our second item is consider for approval accepting the Kansas Department of Corrections Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Grant. Letter of notification. Allison?
Good morning, Commissioners. I am actually here before you today and really excited about presenting this to you. Back in August, the board did approve this particular grant, which is the Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Grant. This is a multi-agency, multi-county collaboration that will help the financial barriers that juveniles and their families encounter, and also help with the cognitive programming that juvenile offenders that are currently not getting in our community and implementing those. And so this grant from the Kansas Department of Correction was sent out to the 31 judicial districts, and our district decided to apply for that grant. And the Board of County Commissioners, along with the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board, went to work on putting together our proposal and what we would do with the funds. And so today I'm here to let you know that we have been awarded those funds as long as the conditions of the grant are signed. What this grant entails is it looks at risk reduction for juvenile offenders in our communities. By doing that, we'll be implementing or allowing funds for sex offender treatment and evaluation, mental health evaluation and treatment, substance abuse evaluation and treatment, emergency food assistance, assistance with rent, all of the basic necessities that someone would need in order to be successful, as well as educational opportunities. And that includes testing for GED, advanced education, and vocational training. As we know, as education is important for our juveniles to be able to get good jobs and have a successful life. And so today I'm looking for that approval from the board. It's in the total of $73,464. On top of that, one additional grant that we collaborated with was with Johnson County, and actually it's with Wyandotte County, Johnson County, Douglas County, and in Lyon County, along with Franklin County, Osage County, Anderson, and Coffee for a collaboration reinvestment grant. And for our portion of it, we were allotted $11,000 to go for vocational training. This could be through any technical school or state school for a juvenile. And so this is just a great opportunity, something that's never been offered to the community. This is a first for the state of Kansas for them to ever offer something like this. And so our county wanted to make sure we took advantage of that. And so that's why I'm here today.
Our piece is 11,000, or it's 11,000 shared by all of us?
So our own judicial district is getting the $73,464. On top of that, we collaborated for another grant fund that was available with those other counties, and our portion is $11,000. So we're actually, for our judicial district, are looking at a total of $84,464.
Just clarify for me, what age group of student or kids are we talking about when you say juvenile? What falls within that
Yeah,
guideline?
no, that's a great question. The age is between 10 and we went up to the age of 21. That basically, the reason why in the state of Kansas a juvenile offender is considered a juvenile offender at the age of 10. At the age of 21, if they have a juvenile case, which they could have gotten it at 17, and they've been placed on probation for a duration. 21 is the age. And so we're looking at a large window from, basically 5th grade all the way up to college age.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Allison? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Grant, conditions of grant.
Make the motion.
Okay, got some motions?
Second.
Got a couple seconds? Thank you.
Commissioner Oglesby,
Yes.
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire,
Yes.
Chair Renaud.
Yes.
This does sound like a neat opportunity. I think
Yes.
you get,
Yeah, it'll be.
maybe, you'll have the resources to maybe, you certainly care, but now you have maybe some resources that somebody that could fall on the fence, go either way, maybe give them a shove the right direction. So,
Yes, I do. And a lot of time it has to do with opportunity and not having the available funds to do so. So,
Okay, all right, great.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item, consider for approval executing supplement number 1 to the Federal Fund Exchange Master Agreement. Mr. Hagan.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
KDOT Secretary has authorized the Federal Fund Exchange Program. Secretary in Franklin County executed an agreement in 2016 so that Franklin County could exchange our federal funds. The program has changed, which necessitates adopting this supplemental agreement. The two major changes: we'll no longer be able to bank our funds for multiple years, and the exchange rate has dropped from 90 cents on the dollar to 75 cents on the dollar, primarily because of the tightness of KDOT funding. The request is a motion approving the execution of supplemental number 1 to the Federal Fund Exchange Master Agreement.
Okay, any other questions that we have for that program? If there's no questions for Jim, then I need a motion to approve the execution of supplement number 1, Federal Fund Exchange Master Agreement.
Make the motion.
Thank you. Okay, I got a second?
Commissioner Dunn,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire,
yes.
Commissioner Oglesby,
Yes.
Chair Renaud.
Yes.
Thank you,
Jim.
Commissioners.
Okay, staff reports. Derek?
Yeah, before the meeting, I had Joy disseminate a set of covenants pertaining to proximity park. My intention isn't to discuss those today. In fact, I don't have Larry down here, but I wanted you all to have them over the next week. Take a look at them. If you have thoughts or questions at next week's meeting, my intention is to have Larry here. That is a product of a lot of discussion between Mary, myself, and Wendy Lee over at the city. So it has been vetted, but to the extent there are questions, we'll certainly answer them. So intentions to do that next week. The dispatch transfer continues to go incredibly well. I believe I put the finishing touches on the bylaws for the advisory board yesterday, and so continue to move well through that process. Don't have anything else.
Okay, James, Allison. I'd like to welcome Kofo here today. I see Cleon's replacement here. Is it Derek? Is that?
I'm Jeff.
Jeff, okay. Well, welcome. Glad to see that you're here and hope that if we can help you in any way, convey the information to our citizens, well, we appreciate your doing that along with the Ottawa Herald. So.
Thank you. I'll have a lot of questions.
Commissioner comments, board reports.
I haven't been to anything since last meeting.
I've not attended anything since the last time we met.
I did attend the legislative coffee on Saturday, and it didn't sound really encouraging from most of the information that came forward, and it kind of looks like they're still at a stalemate as to what to do with educational funding and how they're going to get there. I did attend a coffee last Friday as well for the chamber that may work with your information, Allison, that you presented this morning. A new member that joined the chamber was called Trio, and they're providing the opportunity for people to get education, college education, help them get through the process, GED, things like that. So that might be some information that maybe we can exchange and could help you assist some of these kids reach their goal. So.
Okay, Roy.
I haven't been to any place, but this coming Sunday is a kind of farewell appreciation for Deb Barker at 2 o'clock at Neosho County.
Okay. Any other ones? We have the state legislative thing this afternoon, I believe, in Topeka. If nothing else, then I consider a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second? All in favor? We are adjourned.